She is a leadership author, resilient coach, and CSP. He is a leadership and coaching expert, co-founders of global leadership consultancy Phi Echo. Together, they have been leveraging individuals and collective leadership experiences to help leaders in business draw out inner gems in their leadership essence, to disrupt their leadership presence, to thrive in their hyper-changing world. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to introduce my former colleagues and my senior line manager to whom I used to report, Dr. Yvonne and Mark Dickson.
Good day to you, Farookh. It's so grand to see you online. Much prefer to see you in person, but thank you so much for the invitation for both Mark Dickson and I to be on your show to talk about changing the world one willing person at a time.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Yvonne, Mark, your chance now.
Look, it's always good to see you. It must be about 4 years since we've caught up face to face, and we're
absolutely
doing that soon. But in the meantime, this is probably as good as it gets in the modern world.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, Mark, and thank you very much, Yvonne, for joining from Malaysia right now. I know that you've got a very busy schedule. You travel all over the world, in Europe, in China, in the Middle East, in America, etc. So thank you very much for finding time to join with us. Yvonne, the first question goes to you. How important is passion in what you're doing right now?
Oh, look, that's a big question, but let's break it down. I often say, one of my mentors shared this with me. Passion can be spelled pass-I-on. So if we understand what it is that we want to pass on truly, then doing it is not hard. You're just being yourself. So I guess for me, being myself means to find the best version of myself, to be able to help others find the best version of themselves, to deliver on their purpose, whatever that might be. Could be a business leader who wants to change the way they do business. It could be a founder in an entrepreneur startup who wants to take his message or her product out into the marketplace and therefore wants to bring truly their authenticity into it as well. So that's, I guess, holding the space for people to be the best they can be is what I'm calling my passion.
Wow. Thank you very much, Yvonne. Mark, how would you define freedom?
Freedom?
Yeah.
Two things. First thing, I'm going to use pass-I-on as well, but I think it's about allowing yourself or having that latitude to make your own decisions, to take control of your own life rather than the conformity of, like so many people now seem to be almost pre-AI, they're almost robotic already. They've kind of lost that freedom to make changes in their lives, to decide what to do, and they're just like a fish in the stream. So freedom is being able to jump out of the stream and go and do something else, as opposed to do what everybody else is doing. I think most people, unfortunately, seem to be getting into that lulling into that false sense of security and non-freedom.
You both are in the space of leadership, training, coaching, etc. How much do you think that people are using the freedom and passion?
Ooh.
Can I start with sharing an amazing symbol?
Okay.
I was in Hong Kong last week and being on level 22 on a beautiful building on the harbour, which obviously is a man-made tower. And we're talking about teaching entrepreneurs how to pitch perfectly. And they were getting so nervous because they didn't know how much to share of their AI platform. They don't know how much to share of themselves. And along comes this beautiful eagle. She lands on the sill. She basically almost struts, like she looks at us through the window. And everybody just gathers because, she's just being herself. Then as we looked, she spread eagled. And she just basically went and eyed us each one by one. And as she flew,
a couple of minutes later,
she was there for about good 5 to 6 minutes. Like we all had a good feel of her. Everybody was posting it on Instagram. And then we had a discussion, what does the eagle mean to you? And we talked majesty, pride, freedom, being herself. And we just said, exactly, the ego doesn't have to be anything but herself or itself. And if you really believe in what you're doing, in trying to change the world, pitching a message not just to an investor, but to your employees, your team that you're leading, to your customers, to the community that's going to change the planet or whatever it is with your message or your product, then you are actually being the ego. So you're soaring above what others can't see, but grounding yourself so that you deliver in the world. You have to be real. So to me, that was the key two things you picked up: passion and freedom in leadership. I guess that's the kind of qualities we'd like people to find within themselves and express it in their own leadership presence. And you're so right. And that's working one-on-one with a willing leader is important. Role modelers and people who are wearing a mask find it really hard to understand that.
Yeah, can I just add a little bit to that, Farookh? I think a lot of people have forgotten how to be the eagle. They've forgotten how to be their authentic self. So a lot of people we're finding, and it's an increasing number, are role-playing through life. So they're role-playing the part of a manager at work. They go home and they're a completely different person. They've got a passion inside, which they don't let come to the surface. So we've had guys who have stood up at leadership workshops and say, for the first time I'm here to admit to everyone, I want to be a cook. I want to be a chef. I want to cook food. I love cooking food. I don't like my corporate job. And I think a lot of people are like that. They suppress what's inside them and they become this soulless figure. And of course, the first thing you lose is your passion.
Absolutely.
And it's sad. And they go to work and they'll shuffle paper. But they're inwardly, they're so unfulfilled, eventually it becomes a problem. And that's unfortunately where we often get called in, unless we're working with a younger group and we have to identify that passion from the start.
Wow. Since you are working with the younger group, what is that missing or lacking the leadership in the younger group these days?
Would you like to go first? Or?
Okay, I think there are two groups of young people as there are two groups of older people. There are those that are trying to find themselves in the social norm that allows them to be a leader. So they look to others and then try to emulate that in themselves. So they're not being who they are. Often they also feel that's also the people that feel entitled. The older people who have worked hard enough, said I've gone through all this hardship. Now I'm owning this business or I'm leading this organization. I should be able to control and command it the way I want to. So there's also those young people who feel that entitlement as well. But one of the things that I think both Mark and I enjoy doing in our work is to find that people inside themselves. That little inner voice that they might have shut out that is truly them, that they have the courage to find. But there's that second group of people who actually have found that voice, who have found that courage, but need a little bit of skilling up. So we often just help nurture that and help them to be brave and get them to step up. And if they truly believe in it, that's what a leader is. You're going to a place where no one has been yet. Of course, there's no reference point. So I guess to all those young and old who are stepping out into that new frontier, we're saying, first of all, the last frontier is not outer space. We're not trying to conquer the universe. We're trying to actually look and voyage into inner space and find that true self that we've hidden so that can really grow, that passion that pass on can really flow forward. So that's what we're finding. And it doesn't matter whether you're older or young. That authenticity needs to find courage for nurture.
Now, Farookh, you can see I still struggle to get a word in sometimes.
Step forward, my man. Kind of successful person.
Seriously, going back to the age difference, you're right, there is an issue there. But we are growing increasingly tired of people blaming on the generational differences. So we compartmentalise people and say, oh, it's because they're a Y-gen or because they're a baby boomer. We kind of disagree with that because what we're finding, we know 80-year-olds, or we call them teenagers because they're more teenager than a senior in the community. they've got all the traits of a younger person. And we're finding that people are blaming the generational differences for not being able to express themselves, to lead, to achieve at work or achieve in life or society. And quite frankly, we disagree with it. You can be anything you want, as long as you said before, you've got that passion and that clarity on what you want to do.
Wow. Now, I know that you both are following your passion. And I know that you really love independence and freedom, and you want to fly like birds. I know that. I know you, both of you. When did you identify your passion, and how did you align that with what you're doing right now? When did that spark come in? When did you ignite that? Was it you yourself who found out, or somebody else said you have that sort of spark within you?
It was many years ago. We've both been in people consulting, people development for many years, more years than we care to admit to. We both came out of corporate life and found that unfulfilling. We met most recently, probably 6 years ago, I'd say now, in the Middle East, and we decided that we wanted to go back to changing the world rather than stay in a corporate. Although regrounding in the corporate, I find, is also a great idea for any consultant to go back and feel the pain that their potential and future clients are expressing. So we did that. We set up in Malaysia, and once again, we arrived here with our suitcases, no clients, and we quickly built up a clientele. But what fulfills our passion is working with good people in good organisations. So if we work with people who are not quite serious about what they're trying to do, they're just trying to run an intervention of some kind for the sake of using a budget, well, they're not for us. We're after people who are serious and have that passion. So whether they're young, old, we do a lot of work, as you know, with the CEO and the C-suite level, but also a lot of our more fulfilling projects have been around young graduates who are just coming into the workforce. They're just as fun.
Yeah, because I'm doing some mentoring for a group called Lean In, the Sheryl Sandberg Circle here in Malaysia that was started by two young women. It's very fulfilling, and being able to, run coaching programs where one-on-one people have come to us, not sponsored by their corporate company, but saying, we love what we saw when you were working with us in the team. Since it's not within my budget or my level, can you help me develop? And that kind of passion that we know is out there. And when I think one of the sense that I had was the contrast of finding passion and freedom for myself was I had always had freedom because I was a consultant myself, was a dentist in my own practice. I, was a consulting coach before I joined our time in Qatar Airways as my first corporate job. And I had to do it sort of right up the top with, a global organization that had so much, so much visibility. But one of the things I found was, even though it had so much going for it as a corporate, and you think with all the resources and all the teams, there was a lack of autonomy. There was a lack of being able to be creative and innovative because you had to have 26 signatures before you even got, your idea. You had to pitch, not just 26 times. Your message gets lost by the 26th pitch of your
So there goes the passion. There goes the passion.
Right, it gets diluted. So one of the key things is when we had the opportunity to end our assignment and come out on our own again, I think for me, I realized that the freedom of just being who we are and allowing that flow, allowing that the people to find us. We didn't actually sit out there and do a brainstorm of get messages from the universe like you're getting right now. No, we didn't get a message from the universe of what we needed to do, but we actually sat there and opened our eyes and ears and our heart and say, what are we good at? What are our strengths? What do we enjoy doing? And together, the energy of strength and doing something well will attract the right kind of people to want to work with us on finding that same passion. And I think that's really, I was awakened very late in life. And I think I really realized how much I didn't know, in the first 50 years of my life. So it was a real awakening.
I think that's an important point for it, because I find that as we get older in life, we start to express that passion. Now, we keep it suppressed for quite a while. We're not sure about how to let our passion out. When you actually express it, what we found was that people with similar passion are drawn to you like a magnet. You know, it's like yourself. I know you share a similar passion, in fact, a very similar passion for what you do, and the love of people and the advancement of people and the human race in general.
Absolutely.
I knew we would always stay connected, even though we don't talk to each other for years and years and years. It's not just LinkedIn, but we find this more and more. Now, what we're also doing, we're working with a lot of young startups, a lot of young entrepreneurs just coming into business now. And these are younger people, and what we find is these younger people have got the passion, and they're expressing it a lot younger in life than what we did. And we do a lot of work with them. In fact, the one workshop in Hong Kong was around that. We're doing more and more and more with those young people. They're expressing the passion. But what we're interested in doing is reaching those younger people who have got a passion, and they're letting that little candle burn down, and eventually, sadly, it may burn out. It's very difficult to come back. So yeah, they're fun.
I think it comes back, you know, if we can learn from others, and Mark and I are so inspired by these young people who've had, the courage to step out with their message and be prepared to fall down over and over again, but picking themselves up and doing it. And it takes me to my first lesson. I guess the first lesson when I started learning from young people was when I became a parent. So at first, you know, I'm so scared, thinking, I'm the big person here. I should be able to, when my baby is born, know exactly what to do, because my mother and father seems to. So I think one of the greatest humble lessons of vulnerability occurred when my child was born. I realized that it's not about finding the right thing to do by them. It's not even just reading the book that is them to be able to, you know, understand your team and give them what they want. It's actually being able to understand myself, to read the book that's me, so that when I know what I value and what I envision, I have the generosity to be able to step into the position of my team, in this case my kid and my kids, or these young entrepreneurs that we're mentoring, and not be the know-it-all, because we have so much to learn from them. So I guess one of the lessons that we're learning is leadership is parenting. First, you need to parent yourself, and then you need to parent the situation before you can parent even them. So, and in turning that around, I sometimes wonder whether, you know, the entrepreneur that I'm coaching is actually parenting me, because it has opened up my eyes that at their age, I didn't have that wisdom. I have not had that courage. I was primed to be what I think was the social norm to be. So that's a message that I would like to sort of put out there.
Yeah, and I think in obtaining, I'm just thinking how we did that. One of the things I did, which I found not just therapeutic, but also a great foundation of me, Mark, was to start writing my book about me. So I think everyone's got a book in them, Farookh, and it's the story of their life. And I encourage anyone to start doing this and just write about the meaningful things in your life. I'm up to about the age of 15, 16 in my book. I've got quite a way to go. But I found it really good. And I've been encouraging other people to write their story. Now, you might print 4 or 5 of these books. And we can do that online these days, and give one to each of your kids and any other significant person in your life. And it's my story. And it's something you can hand on. And I think it's really important to share your funniest moments at school and all this. And it's all about me. So it's understanding me. And no one can judge it because it's my story.
It's transparent. It's completely open.
Yeah, exactly. And it's hopefully a true story.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, you guys are talking about books, and you're talking about parenting. You're talking about leadership starts from your home. So let me pick up your book, which is all about intentional parenting. Wow, this is one book. Yeah, this is one book I recommend everybody who walks into my office. I don't know. I know where I keep it. I pick it up and I show guys, you got to go through this book. There are people who are following this book as well. Now, when can we see the next version, next edition, next volume?
That is a very good question. Dr. Sun.
Yes, it's interesting that that question has surfaced very recently because we encourage leaders to journal. So do I. So I often write, and in my mind when I was writing the journal, it wasn't really about a book. I was thinking, if I journal this, one of these days when I pass away, it wouldn't be the Diary of Anne Frank, or it may not be, that famous, but I could put in my will to give it to my children, because there are thoughts and feelings that I would like them to immortalize of remembering me and maybe tell stories for that. Mm-hmm. But I also remembered that when I left Qatar and landed in Malaysia, and I was in my little studio apartment at that time, I woke up at 3 a.m. and call it a download from the universe. So that was an internet from the universe. Mm-hmm. I woke up and for the next 2 hours, I felt like I was in a dream. Mm-hmm. But there was a book that was already written. Okay. It was written, and the time at that time was not right. But yesterday or last week, I was speaking to a few people who were saying, when is this next book, as you are asking me? And I say, you know what? That book has already written itself, and wait for it, it's basically going to be a novel. Mm-hmm. It's going to be about the journey of not a woman who necessarily has children to parent, but she holds the burden of challenges from the ages from her foremothers. We're talking about a lot of women mm-hmm. and feminine leadership stepping up into the business world at the moment, where it's a very patriarchal society. So what is it that I carry unconsciously that biases me from stepping up and be counted as a feminine leader, not a masculinized, emasculated type of leader to model what men do? And also the mythology of our times, all the stories that were told as children that might seem like fairy tales from, like the Madam Whitesnake from China, mm-hmm. or, the Mahabharata from India, or the Native American stories that Joseph Campbell writes a lot about. Mm-hmm. What are those tales of these heroes and these little mythological goddesses and gods that has that divine quality in us? So this character will explore that in terms of the divine in all of us. And then also to look at the historical figures that have, kind of in our history showed us the quality of being heroic. The Joan of Arc, mm-hmm. who got burnt at the stake but was trying to fight as a leader but had to dress up as a man. Those kind of stories. Fa Mulan, which is a big Disney movie, right, of how she took a place from her father so that she could actually go out there and fight for China, or at least the Qing states. Mm-hmm. So to me, there's all that quality. So how can I do that into a novel? Mm-hmm. Well, maybe it will be a novel. Mm-hmm. Maybe it will be a musical. Maybe it might be a video game. Uh-huh. I'm not sure yet.
We need a barrister.
Because there are so many opportunities. So I'm actually not limiting it to a book. Mm-hmm. So if anybody out there who is listening to your podcast, Farookh, who wants to partner with me, either you're a ghostwriter, mm-hmm. or you're a musical script writer, or you're a video game designer, or anything else, I'd love to hear from you, because I'd love to collaborate. It's not my work. I think it's the work of the universe.
Wow, that's great. You used a very strong word, which is called collaboration. How would you expand the word collaboration? Why is it important today in this world?
Well, are we talking true collaboration, or are we talking collaboration as people use it within business at the moment? Farookh, to me, it's like leadership. It's another one of those misused words. But collaboration is truly, in my mind, engendering all that passion and trust and respect to work with other people to achieve greater things than you could achieve by yourself. Mm-hmm. A lot of people use the word, but at the very first chance, they become resistant, untrustworthy, push back, ring-fence their responsibilities, not my job. Mm-hmm. They still use the word. So it's hard. It's an easy word to use, very hard to actually live by. I think if everyone's looking for an easy answer to that one.
Yeah, well, that's a great question. So to me, collaboration came from the Latin word collaborare, and it also came from the same root word as competiere. In other words, competition and collaboration came from the same root word. So, but rather than looking at competing and winning as one person over others, collaboration is about one group of people bringing their special superpowers together so that together we can win. And collaboration also has that laboratory word in it. You know, we need to prototype and try things. We need to be willing to fail in each other's eyes and be vulnerable enough to do that, to say, hey, my idea didn't work. Oh, you know, what else can we test? So one of the people that we're working with is a gentleman called Dr. Kai-Han Krippendorf. You should interview him.
You should interview him.
Sure.
He's a prolific author. He's just penned the last chapter of his 5th book. He's written a book called Outthinker for the last 12 years that Mark and I have been helping put the message out there that innovation strategy, or rather strategy, is not top down. It's not 5 days of, you know, your top team going out there and planning what it is for the next 12 months or 3 years or 5 years, and then sifting it through and communicating to the rest of us to carry. But to him, Outthinker was a strategy. He called it a democratizing collaboration of how strategy should be formulated and implemented. He called strategy a conversation where it draws to an intended conclusion. Obviously, we all want to win and change how we're doing so that the world's a better place. If that was an intended conclusion, how do we as a team come together to form those ideas and have that constant conversation, changing it as we need to so that we end up in a better place? That, to me, is collaboration.
Wow.
That's strategy at the highest level.
That's really deep.
Yeah, that way too deep. But saying that, Farookh, it's a great question you asked. And I remember having a conversation with you many years ago on something similar. And organisations expect us to collaborate. As humans, our natural instinct is to try and collaborate.
Okay.
But a lot of workplaces are set up to oppose collaboration. They say they want collaboration. Yeah. They want teams, but this is the employee of the month. Shouldn't it be like the team of the month? We're very confused in the way we actually enact and live a lot of these things in the workplace. And that's where a lot of our coaching comes in with people, just to hold that mirror up to them and say, you're saying this, but you're doing that. Can you see the conflict in what you're doing? So once again, it's another, I'm not sure why you asked the question on collaboration. It's a great one, and it's a very controversial one, the same as leadership. I'm actually suggesting that a lot of organisations don't want leadership. There is one leader, and it's me, and we could probably both name one. And the last thing we want is anyone else making a decision except me. I will make all the decisions. You will do exactly as I say. You robots just do the work. And sadly, they don't achieve a fraction of what they could achieve.
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't have any questions right in front of me. The word collaboration came from Yvonne. I just picked up on that. Now let me pick up a word which came from Mark. You spoke about coaching right now. How important is coaching?
Oh my goodness. Okay, let me tell you how important coaching is to me. Actually, not to me, but some of the people I'm coaching at the moment. If you can imagine, as we go through life, there are weaknesses and shortcomings that we have, which we suppress, and it's the unauthentic self. You know, we've got a weakness, we don't show it, we cover it up. Yep. We can even lie about it if we need to. A lot of people will come through the various levels of management. In some cases, they get to a CEO, and all of a sudden we'll get a request to come along and help them with something as routine as how to present to large groups or how to make good qualified decisions. What we find is that eventually that weakness becomes an Achilles heel, and it will bring them down. The true story of the Trojans and Achilles. But we can help them with coaching. And coaching is that one-on-one relationship we have with that person to help them correct that fault. Unfortunately, a lot of people still won't admit that fault. And once again, we both could cite examples of those people, and they'll just become aggressive, angry people and do anything to cover up that weakness. But coaching allows you to enjoy a one-on-one relationship in total confidentiality and express your greatest joys, your greatest fears, all of those things inside that you've suppressed and you probably don't want to bring out to your line manager or even to your friends. So it's an external party, and we find that a lot. We're coaching whole C-suites at the moment. And you'd be amazed what comes out. And it's great stuff. And they just love to get it out and talk about it once the trust is built. So we've got to maintain that trust, of course, in coaching. Yvonne, what do you think?
Yeah, well, thanks, Mark. He's such a gentleman. He never leaves me out of it. Collaboration at its best. No, coaching is something that's very close to our hearts because coaching has been, I guess, an avenue or a medium by which we have been able to hold that space for people to look at themselves. Now, there are many tools out there, and one of the things I wanted to highlight that Mark talked about is often leaders don't realize the power of vulnerability, that they hide it thinking that it's an Achilles heel. But through the work of through say Patrick Malvadier, who designed an engine called the Index for Workplace Attitudes and Motivations, which subsequently has been put into an app developed by our very good mentor, Michelle Duval, called Fingerprint for Success. She says, if we can actually look at the vulnerability, the side where if these 48 parameters that are being measured on this tool can show us that 1/3, that 16 that drains your energy, okay, let's find that that's what demotivates you, but you didn't really know that because some of these qualities are also your strengths. Because despite all odds, you have used your opportunities to be able to develop this as strength so you become very skillful. But for every time you do this, let's say you drain 10 times your energy, but you've had no chance to work on the other 16, which is what we call your keys of your mastery, the tools, that quality that motivates you, that even if you didn't get paid for it, even if you were lack of sleep, when you do it, you actually gain energy. So one of the beauties about coaching is to be able to have this tool to bring it forward to someone and say, look, these are the things that energize you. How much of it are you using in your work? And they start wondering, wow, they're not actually even some of my strengths. I do that in my hobbies. Strengths are draining me. It's a great conversation by even looking within themselves. Forget about the results they're going out there. They could be killing themselves. And a dead leader is not a good leader. Or someone without the battery or the energy. So Mark and Alvin felt that coaching is our way of managing energy. We're on an energy project with the leader, managing their physical energy, their emotional energy, their intellectual energy, and most of all, their spiritual energy. How do they give of themselves more than what's out in the world?
So this F4S or Fingerprint for Success is great because it looks at your high motivations, as Yvonne said, and your low motivations. So what do you think is the first thing that goes in a person when they're being forced to do their job, which is all around their low motivation? First thing that goes is their passion. And then that was the place to start.
Absolutely.
Help them into a new role, have their job realigned or redesigned, or in some cases, as Yvonne was saying, maybe they need to connect those passions, those high motivations in some other part of their life. So I can do it for the 8 to 10 hours of work, but I need it when I go home. It's interesting how that works. It's digging down, and sometimes we feel like doctors, digging down to find the root cause of the disease and fix that once, and the people go away. They've got their mojo back. They're happy. I think we're back to where we started in the interview.
Absolutely.
Back to that freedom. A lot of leaders don't even realize they've been shackled by their own strengths. That's the exact thing that's draining their energy. They've created a situation where they are themselves an energy vampire for themselves. So if we can actually help them find their passions by understanding themselves through coaching and having that freedom to have the courage to talk about what is it that I'm passionate about that gives me a lot more energy to do the things I'm purposeful for. And therefore, it will allow them to be the best leader they can be. It all comes back. And to collaborate with those people who you don't really want to waste any more energy on because that's your energy. So go partner, go hire, go collaborate with people who's going to add, that energy in their lives.
That same passion.
Right, so let them be passionate with that. Let them, get skilled in that, and so that you can actually share. Hence the superpowers. We believe that fingerprint for success helps you to be that 1 in a million person with that superpower if you can discover it. So.
Wow.
Get that mojo back and enjoy life. That's the message.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If you're not getting it, make a change.
Exactly. What's the secret of 5?
What's the secret of 5? Are you talking about 5 Echo?
Exactly correct.
I'll let one tell her version first.
No, you can
Tell yours. Tell yours, and then I'll tell you the truth.
Okay.
Well, I thought there were 3 versions, actually.
Just tell your one version. Pick one of your 2 versions.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Well, one of the versions was actually, to be fair, when I was, about to leave my assignment in the Middle East, and I was wondering, what's a great name for me to start a new company? And, with great colleagues who are brainstorming, we've often thought about when we go out and start our own company, what would we call it? So as I was taking off, I had to look at my seat number, and it says 5 Echo. So, wow, echoing a new resonance to something within myself that I want to express in the world. Mm-hmm. So what if, 5 Echo is a symbol of not 5 people going out there, but maybe the number of grace, 5, being, the number of grace. The 5 Echo is flying me off to the beginning of a new adventure. Mm-hmm. So that's where 5 Echo came from.
Now that is actually the truthful story. I'm quite shocked. There's one other sad fact we found out after picking 5 Echo, and there were actually 5 of us originally destined to be involved, and some of those other people but for one reason or another, they did other things before we formed the company. Mm-hmm. We did find a place called Echo 5. Okay. And it's one of those very clandestine areas inside Guantanamo Bay. Now, that was unfortunate. And some people do miswrite 5 Echo and call it Echo 5. We say, no, we're definitely 5 Echo, not Echo 5.
Wow. So, in reversing the trend, therefore, instead of being in the shackles of Guantanamo Bay, where you're a very dangerous prisoner, we have given you the freedom to express yourself as a leader of a changing world.
She's still a very good revisionist. A very good revisionist.
Now, the other story that we didn't get to share, if you really want to, was I love mythology, and I love the story.
I knew she'd have to say it. Please go on.
I mean, and the thing is that because of the story of Echo and Narcissus, which is a very famous Greek myth, Narcissus is a very beautiful prince who falls in love with his image looking at the lake, and so he often goes to the lake to look at himself. But he didn't realize that a water nymph called Echo had always been watching him and had been falling in love with him, but more for the inner qualities that he is. He couldn't see it in himself. Mm-hmm. So when she tried to approach him to coach him to find that echo within himself that could be resonant, through eternal time, he told her to go away, and in the process, he fell into the lake, into his image, trying to reach out for his beautiful image, and died. And in this place was the fragile narcissus flower that, basically blooms in one day and dies the next. And that was the end of him. Whereas with Echo, she went off into the caves to mourn the loss of such a beautiful person, a soul that would never recognize it. And she is the eternal voice we hear when we go into a cave. She continues to echo back. So to me, is if we can create a chamber, a safe cave where our leaders can come to echo their thoughts and feelings that we can echo back as resonantly and as clearly as possible, then they get to reflect on themselves and make the changes themselves without us even giving them any advice. So I guess 5 Echo has that mythology story behind it that only some revisionist and storyteller like me can come up with.
So to summarize, It was a seat number.
5 Echo.
That's true.
Before we wind up, what are the 3 advices? I know that you don't like to give advices because you are coaches, but anyway, for those viewers, what are the 3 advices that you would like to share?
I've got. If you don't mind, while you're thinking, I've got one, and actually 2. I believe in every challenge there is an opportunity.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And you know, in the past, a lot of the things you and I have achieved together, the more people tell me I can't do it, the more I'm committed to actually doing it.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. So it's about that. I don't become another one of these blamers and victims in life, blaming everyone for your lot.
Mm-hmm.
Do something about it, seize an opportunity, change your life, make a difference, become a contributing member of the human race rather than a blood-sucking vampire.
Yeah.
The second one is, and I'm only going to give you 2, is courage.
Mm-hmm.
And I think once again, you and I had a conversation about 5 or 6 years ago. If I ever get fired for doing my job and doing the right thing, then I will proudly walk from the building. No chance. If I got fired for not doing my job, I would be devastated. So my thing is, within reason, show courage.
Yeah.
No one will do it for you. It's just something you've got to generate from inside and do the right thing.
Absolutely.
Like I say, if you then suffer the consequences and you have honestly done the right thing or believe you've done the right thing, then be proud.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Maybe 3 things. First, be present.
Mm-hmm.
Be here now so that you actually can really understand yourself and the surroundings. So be present, not the past, not the future.
Yeah.
The second thing is be awake.
Mm-hmm.
So tune into your 5 senses, because when they're highly tuned, it becomes your 6th sense. You will start noticing patterns that in this fast-changing world, most people will miss.
Mm-hmm.
So being present, number 1, allows you to be who you are in your surroundings, be true to yourself. The second thing is to be awake so that you can notice all the patterns of change so that you can help you and the people you lead to move in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
Often into places where others have not actually picked.
Yeah.
The third thing is, I would say, be yourself. Take that courage, as Mark says, to go with your people to that frontier. And the frontier may be inside yourself, where there's a prison of an inner voice. And pass I on. So that way, if you do all these 3 things, you have no choice but to pass I on.
It's all about your inner self.
Starts with your inner self. So be present, and then be awake. So you're still tuning into the outside world, but also then be yourself, because I think we're just more than just a body. I think there's this energy that we emanate that induce energies in other people. So in other words, we are one and we are one is all, so that's the kind of thing. And so therefore you've got no choice once you do those 3 things, but to have the freedom to pass I on.
And I think the final word goes to Yvonne's father. He's probably the oldest teenager I have ever met.
Mm-hmm.
This is a guy, he's closing on 80.
Yes.
Enjoying every day of his life, prolific on social media, has a passion, which is where I think Yvonne gets a lot of it from. And he has a very simple saying, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. And I know it's not original, and it probably comes back to somewhere back through history, but he lives that, and it's a great piece of advice. Now, as we go through life, as you know, we have to do things, do jobs, do roles that we don't particularly like, and we need to do it because we need to get paid.
Yeah.
But eventually, if you're moving towards your passion, and this is why people in later life, for example, I had a CEO I was coaching years ago in Brisbane, in Australia, and he was getting nothing out of being a CEO. He hated it. He did not like a day of it. He did it through sufferance. He was promoted into roles. He was accepted in roles. I think his wife promoted it more than he did. I said, well, what is it that you do that you really enjoy doing? He said, Mark, my best job is every Saturday morning I mow the lawn. He said, I've got a big shabby lawn, and I beautiful, beautiful, just landscape of green mowed grass. Shortly after, he actually resigned his role as CEO, bought a lawn mowing franchise of all things, and he's well into his 80s now and enjoying life. So instead of dying, I would suspect at about 65, 70, he's into his 80s, he's enjoying life, and changed the direction because he found he was doing what he loved. So do what you love. And if you can't do it now, work towards it.
Because there's a corollary. My dad says, do what you love and everything follows.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I think that's
Is that verse 2?
It's verse 2. Verse 2. He did also say, and that was when I was 18. I did not understand what he meant by that. So by the time I was 34, and I was thinking, I really don't want to be a dentist anymore, even though my father was the patron saint who put me through college and university. I rang him up at 34 and I said, Dad, I'm about to hang up the drill. How do you feel about that? He reminded me again, do what you love and, never work in a day in your life, and do you love what you do right now? And I said, not dentistry. I like it, but I don't. What are you stepping into? Do you love it? I said, if you didn't pay me, I wouldn't do it. He said, well, that's the answer.
That's your answer.
So at 34, it resonated much more than it was 18. But right now, living with him, just a few doors down, just being with him, he is the epitome of loving your life. And I think we're learning it from another level as well in our 50s. So
and that's where the courage comes in. But I know we're probably going over time, and this is where the courage comes in, because we're working with a lot of young people who have been forced into careers by their parents because the parents want a doctor or a dentist,
or a
medical
lawyer.
doctor, or a lawyer, or an accountant. And it's not what turns these young people on. So they do it and they suffer through it for a few years.
Yeah.
In their mid-20s, they are so frustrated, they are so unpassionate, they are so dissatisfied and disgruntled. And then people like us come in and try and help them, even have the conversation with their parents to say exactly what Yvonne did. So that relationship between the parents and the children is it's another topic for another day. Communication's got to stay open. But if you're a parent out there and you're considering forcing your child into a career that may not suit them, think twice. You are going to waste your money.
Absolutely.
Your child will, in their later life, change their career, and unfortunately your investment will be poor counted.
Can I just add on top of parenting, I think this other thing that why Mark and I are finding that we are doing a lot of work in mediation as well. So not just that, working in C-suite as, I think, a balanced team, is we are complement of opposites. Mark is, as you can see, he looks the Westerner, and I look the Easterner. He's like a woman. Oh, no, I look like the woman, and he looks like the man. So, that there is
Thank
this.
you.
He's very pragmatic, and I'm very intuitive, and, I love the creative strategy. He loves the implementation of strategy. So I think we bring to an organization the modeling of how to make two complements work well, provided that you are aligned to the same purpose and the passion.
Absolutely.
And I think often if we can model that to young people, that sometimes you can't find it all in one person, so don't be all things to everyone. So as an entrepreneur, find a co-founder in your C-suite. Make sure you hire or get your top team to be all, various different people.
But I think that's also the magic in our relationship, business and beyond.
Yes.
Is that we have enough differences, but we also have enough similarities.
Yep.
The bonding is there, and we can disagree and do things a different way, but we come back to the bonding.
Yeah.
That's the magic. You don't need someone just like you.
No.
Absolutely.
That's the fallacy of employment often when we recruit. We go out to hire someone just like us. We hire someone just like us, and we still don't solve the problems, and production doesn't get fixed, and challenges are still there. So differences.
Yeah. See too many co-founders who are all techies, or all people.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important that we celebrate the difference. we productively have conflict so that as long as we align to where we need to go.
And she usually wins still.
Talk to me another time.
It's a team effort. We do it her way.
Thank you very much, Mark. Ladies and gentlemen, Yvonne Sun and Mark Dickson.